Kia ora koutou, kua hui mai ne tēnei hui, tēnā koutou, tēnā ano tatou katoa. Welcome and good evening, everyone. It's great to have you with us tonight. I'm Ted Zorn. I'm head of Massey Executive Development, which is the unit within Massey University that offers the MBA and EMBA programs. So thank you very much for your interest in Massey and in our MBA and EMBA programs. Great to have you all here. And I want to acknowledge you for taking the first step towards potentially a transformational experience. It's not a word that I use lightly, but it is a word that we hear from our graduates and see in them as well. The MBA is a process not just of gaining knowledge, but also new ways of seeing the world, new ways of seeing yourself as well. So tonight we want to tell you a bit about that transformational journey and to answer your questions so that you can see if the MBA and EMBA is right for you. So to enlighten you and to answer your questions, we have a couple of our fantastic students who are here to tell you about their experience, as well as some of our most loved lecturers who are here to share a bit about what they do and to give you a sense of the sorts of people that you'll be working with on the MBA, and three of our fantastic staff who will guide you and help you along the way. And so I'll just introduce them now, the three people who will be your co-hosts for the evening. Connie, if I can have the next slide. Dr. Heidi Lesueur, who's the academic director, effectively the director for the MBA and the EMBA programs. Mandy Welch, who is the person who probably knows more about MBAs in New Zealand than anybody I know. It's certainly somebody I turn to to answer my questions. And Ditha Sishta, who, if you do the MBA, you will is somebody that you'll get to know probably better than anyone else. She really takes care of our students and helps them in all sorts of different ways along the way. So those are three people that I work very closely with, and they are the three people who are going to guide you through this evening. And I will come in at the end and say a few closing words, but at this point I will turn it over to Heidi.
Thank you very much, Ted. Yeah, a very warm welcome to all of you. We are excited to have you with us tonight. Before we launch into the presentation, I will just go over a few housekeeping rules. The first one is that I like you to switch on your active speaker view rather than your participant view. And you will find this at the top right-hand corner of your screen, and that really will give you the best experience for this evening. You may have noted that we have muted you, but we still want to get your questions in case you're wondering. We encourage you to put your questions into the chat box. The chat box is at the bottom of your screen. It says chat. So please, any question that you have throughout our presentation, please record it there. We will get to all your questions at the end of our presentation. We have a question and answer session. The only exception is the time when we have our two students sharing from their experience with you. At that time, you are able to send questions directly to the students, and the students are then able to answer you directly. But all other questions we will respond to at the very end. Just also a reminder that this session is being recorded, and that also includes the chat function as well. In case you haven't registered, that could be the case if you were given the link from somebody else, then please do register, because then we can send you the recording as well as any other information on our programs to you afterwards that will help you in making your decision. And Jane, if I can ask you to pop the link into the chat box for everyone so that you can register straight away or afterwards, but you have the link available to you. Okay, let's talk about the Massey experience that you can expect from us. So at Massey, we are known for our flexibility, and that means that we really want to partner with you on your experience with us and your study with us. And where we can be flexible with you and your program, we will. There are some limits, and we will talk a little bit more about the exciting opportunities for flexibility to you later. But it's really important for you to recognize that we want to be there for you and partner with you. The second point listed here is that Massey University is known for its applied and interdisciplinary learning. And I find this is a really, really key point and very important for any MBA program, because it really means that we make theory relevant for practice, and that we apply the theory in the classroom and with the material that we give you, but that you can also apply the learning immediately in the context that you're working in. We also foster connections to business, to the business community, and you are able to benefit directly from all the connections that we have and that you become part of, because you are part of the Massey and then also the Massey MBA community. The last point, a supporting learning environment. Massey is really proud of being able to support you very well on your studies. We have established centers and services, and we'll talk about them in a little bit more detail later on. But it's really important for you to tap into the support that we can provide to you. And the reason why we provide the support to you is because we want you to be successful on our program. So you can really count on us living up to that value. This leads me directly to the next slide, which is on the MBA programs that we are able to provide you with. We have a suite of MBA programs, and we will talk you through all of those later on. But what they all have in common are these outcomes that we have listed here. So depending on where you are at currently in your career and in your life, some of these outcomes may be more important to you than others. So I like to encourage you or to ask you to think about your why. Why do you want to study now? And why do you want to study one of our MBA programs? May it be that you want to become more effective in the current role that you have, and you want to expand in your knowledge to be more impactful in where you are currently at? Or do you want to change your career? Do you perhaps have a role that is very specialized, maybe in a technical field? For example, you could be an engineer, and you do want to broaden your knowledge in order to change your career into a general management role. And for that change, your study, your MBA program could be just the bridge that you need in order to make that change in your career. Or you could also have the goal of wanting to move up into a more senior position within your organization or within another organization, and you are actually looking for a ladder to get you to be ready for that position that you aspire to. So whichever why it is that you have, and whichever goal it is that you set for yourself, this will be important for you because it will carry you through your degree. There might be moments when it's getting tough. We are demanding quite a lot of our students, but you also benefit from it. And the why and the goal that you want to get out of your studies is really what will help you in those tough moments to carry on and to get through to the final end. But what I can say as a concluding point is that certainly our degree programs and of the suite of programs we offer, they will help you to craft the career that you are after. By going through one of our MBA options, you will gain the 4 C's: capability, capacity, confidence, courage. So with capability, we mean the competencies that you will develop. And the competencies is something that you can apply immediately in your work environment. You will also expand your overall capacity to handle complexity, to work smarter across all business functions. The MBA program is a generalist degree, and you will be able to really broaden your skill set. And confidence and courage is something that we hear a lot from our students while they're studying and also once they have graduated. That increased level of confidence through your skills and the competencies that you develop will give you the courage to make changes that you want to see in your context that you work in, and it's something that you will greatly benefit from. You can not only have confidence in yourself, you can also have confidence in us. And the next slide shows you the international accreditations that we hold. On the one side, you see AACSB. This is the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business, and it's an American-based accreditation that accredits a business school as a whole. We have the full 5-year accreditation with AACSB, but it's really recognized internationally and not only in the United States. And we are one of those schools that is accredited. But we are not only accredited by AACSB, we are also accredited by EMBA, the Association of MBAs. This association is based in the UK, and in the same way as AACSB, many schools internationally hold the accreditation. And we are part of that elite group of schools that does. And also for EMBA, we do hold a full 5-year accreditation. And the reason why I point that out is because they clearly show that they have confidence in us to meet those standards that they set. Because those accreditations are really about the quality that we provide. And on a regular basis, we need to provide a lot of information in how we meet those quality standards. And that is actually really good because they keep us on our toes. And through holding these accreditations, you can be assured, for one, that we pay attention to continuous improvement efforts, but also that your degree is internationally recognized. You can take it anywhere in the world and it will be recognized. And I think that is a really key point and something that we are also proud of. In addition to the international accreditations, we are also ranked. There are a number of international ranking agencies such as QS, CEO Magazine, Shanghai Ranking, and these rankings demonstrate how we compare to our peers. And some of these rankings speak specifically to subject fields, the QS ranking particularly, but other rankings speak to program-related rankings. You can see here that our MBA has been ranked highly with the CEO Magazine. So that also shows how well we are placed and recognized globally and internationally. And I think that is really important for your choice of institution you want to study with. The next slide, I will just talk very briefly to. It illustrates the MBA options that we offer to you. We've got a suite of programs that you can choose from. And this is really for you to identify the program that will work for you. We go into more detail on each of the options that you can choose that is available. I just mentioned just a few characteristics. You will see in the top line, it says Executive MBA. We often refer to it as the EMBA. This is targeted for those that aspire to the more senior role. It's also for those that have extensive work experience and have management experience. This program carries 240 credits, and it has got quite some exciting and unique features. And my colleague Mandy will talk to these in a moment. You will then see in the middle and in the bottom line the MBA program. The MBA program has got the same curriculum. So not the same curriculum as the EMBA. The EMBA curriculum is distinctively different, but the MBA that is either delivered online or full-time on campus follows the same curriculum. The full-time MBA delivered in Auckland on our Albany campus, you can complete it in 1 year. It's quite an intense, immersive program. And the other option is the MBA online delivered. And I will also tell you a little bit more about how that works. But this program can be completed over a period of typically 2 years. Some students do it slightly faster in an accelerated study plan, and other students also decide to take a little bit longer. And here you will notice some of the flexibilities that we are able to offer you. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about the programs in detail now, because my colleague Mandy will speak to the Executive MBA now first, and then I will talk again later on a little bit more about the MBA. So with this, I'd like to hand over to Mandy, and I'll see you later when I talk about the MBA.
Hi there, lovely to see you tonight. So my job is to talk to you about the Executive MBA in particular. And as you can see on here, it's mainly pitched to people who are in middle and senior management, or somebody who owns their own business. The types of students we have on the program come from every walk of life. They owner-operators, they from SMEs, from government, from not-for-profits, large corporates. And the beauty of that is that you can learn how to solve a problem from many different angles. And there is, you know, we talk about the theory, but when the practical application comes, because you're in a class environment, which is what the Executive MBA, how we teach it, you can learn from those people in the room, and you get a really amazing connection with people while you're there. For the Executive MBA, we do like you to have a degree, but we do have a pathway for those that don't, and you just need to contact us about that. And we'll give you some details at the end about how you do that. You do need 7 years work experience, as Heidi said. 3 of those need to be in management. And I'll talk to you a little bit later about the makeup of the current class, because it's generally a bit higher than that. You will network with those peers really intensely. It's quite a deep dive into these subjects that we go into, and so it gives you the opportunity of learning from those people. There'll be people in the room who know nothing about a particular topic, and there'll be people who are experts, and that's the beauty of it, because you share that knowledge, and then you get that deep understanding. You get to know their families also quite often, which is really good. So we teach in Auckland. The one is on the Albany campus here in Auckland, and that's every 3rd weekend. And then we also have an Auckland Airport cohort, and that is every 6th weekend. We have been teaching at the Novotel, but you know, due to that friend, Mr. COVID, we have now moved to the Heartland Hotel, and they have a free shuttle. So for people who are based in the regions, you fly in on a Friday for the Auckland Airport cohort. Starts at 10, so it gives you time to fly in or drive in, and then you go through the weekend, and on Sunday you start earlier but you finish later. So most of those are all-day programs, so they're 8:30 to 5 o'clock generally, except, as I said, for the Auckland Airport on the first day, because we give you a chance to come on in. It's an intensive and immersive experience because of its block nature. And you get to know the students and their families, as I've said. There's a strong focus on strategy, on governance, on leadership, and on personal growth. The next time we start the program, because we only start it once a year, unlike the MBA, so just bear that in mind, once a year, we start on the 19th of February. So there is some time for you to get ready and get your house in order before you start thinking of joining us, but we have one start a year. And the program will open your eyes to endless possibilities. It's just a joy to see how people change as they go through the Executive MBA program. On the next slide, we'll just talk about the competencies. So these competencies are what we expect students to be able to do by the time they're finished. We're held to account by our accreditors and also by QAP, which is a government agency, about what we expect students to be able to do by the time they're finished. So for the EMBA, the first one's about leadership, so it demonstrates self-awareness. The full one is resilience and relationship management skills, characteristic of an effective leader. The next one is respond to emerging challenges facing businesses with personal currency and relevance. The next one is enhance business performance through development and implementation of effective strategy. So you can see again, it's all being pitched quite high. Operate confidently in the international business environment. Use critical analysis, judgment, and synthesis skills to identify and resolve complex business problems. And the last one is to work collaboratively, always a good thing to be able to do as an effective team member in a range of business contexts. So you can see there that we really are going to start you know, working on you as an individual, and then how you're going to move strategy for a business going forward. The next one we're going to talk about is to do what's distinctive about the Executive MBA. So we have an integrative program project that we work with, and at the moment we work with a regional development agency called Whanganui and Partners, and we collaborate with those businesses to try and we find out what their concerns are, and as we start going through the courses, we work with them and they work with us about how we can help them across that, and so we learn as we go. The other thing we have is executive one-on-one coaching, 3 sessions, and so you can have any topic with that, and that's to help you with any business problem that you've got. Strategic leadership through the curriculum, again, you will have seen that with the when we talked about the competencies. And one of the really amazing things we do, international exposure, we go away for 2 weeks on an international study tour, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. On the next slide, this is what the program actually is. So as Heidi said, it's a 240 credit program. There are 14 courses. You do 8 of those in the first year. So the workload, that's the building blocks of business as we go through those in the first year. So we cover things like accounting, finance, law, leadership and people, marketing, contemporary strategy, economics and operations and logistics. And then if you pass 7 of those with a B- average, and some of you might go, whoa, you know, B-, that's going to be hard. Very few of our students don't make that. And the reason they don't is that we wrap this amazing support around you as you go through the program. And so if we see that you're struggling, then we start working with you even more intensely about what the problem is and how we can support you to do that. So part 2, you've got all the building blocks at the bottom, so you've learned all about those building blocks. In the second part of the program, you have that overview of how you're going to move a business forward. And we cover things like governance and responsibility, applied personal leadership, strategic management and international leadership. And then we do a research preparation course for you, and then you do an applied business project or research project, and that's the very end of it. And so, but we do that with, we wrap support around you. You've got a supervisor that helps you with that. And through all of these courses, we ask our academic staff to look at how digital transformation, working across culture, sustainability and ethics work into that. So we lead them across the whole program. And then there's also a couple of electives that you can choose at the end, or 1 elective you can choose out of 3 options. You just do 1 course at a time. That's a real beauty, because you can focus on that, finish it, and move on to the next one. With the Auckland Airport one, you actually have enough time to completely finish and then have time to do some pre-reading before the next course. With the Albany one, there is a little bit of overlap and you do need to work around that, but again, time management is key and we'll help you with that as well. We talk about, you know, studying 15 to 30 hours a week on each topic, and that really does depend on how much you know about it. For those things that you already know something about, it doesn't take as much. But if you come across a topic that you've never even thought of learning about, it's going to take you a bit longer. So little and often is the key here when you're studying. A couple of hours every day will really suit you well, and you just need to keep going with it. And because it's cohort taught, the beauty is that the group helps you along. So they'll give you a kick up the butt if you're not actually working hard enough, or when something goes wrong, they surround you with support so that they can take some of that load from you. Beauty. One of our alumni used to say that when she started her MBA program, it was like going into a room and the light was bright in one corner. That's what she knew. And by the time she'd finished, the whole room was brighter. She understood a lot more. She understood she broadened her knowledge, and she understood the language of business, and she knew where all the light switches were. So we're not going to make you an accountant, but you're going to understand the language of accountancy and how to look at a set of books. And so that when you're in a board situation, for example, you're going to be able to understand what they're talking about, and feel confident and have that courage to go and make those changes that you need to, or ask the question. Right, let's move on to the next slide, because this is something that I just love, the study tour. So last year, 2 groups went away. So you have a choice of 2 tours each year when we can travel, of course. And we went to India, and you can see that we do some cultural work there, but it is really, I think Garth might tell you that it's quite hard work when you're away on study tour. We see 2 or 3 businesses every day, and we engage with them about strategy. And so we're looking at the different strategies that we have while we're away. and the picture on the right is with the High Commissioner in New Delhi, and the lovely lady in the pink was the High Commissioner, so we got to meet her. And also we connect with our alumni. So we were lucky enough that one of our alumni, Ralph Hayes, is actually the consulate and the Trade Commissioner in Mumbai, and he came down to this meeting, and then they also saw him in Mumbai when they moved there with the tour. So that gives us some insights from somebody who's already done the program as well. At the bottom, Argentina and Uruguay was the other one, and you can see there that that was on the left-hand side is Plaza Logistica. So you can see it's an immense warehouse that they went to look at operations and logistics strategy, and then on the right-hand side is CND, and that was in Uruguay. So what we're trying to do with the study tours is it's opening your eyes to what happens overseas, to scale, to new economies versus old economies, interesting business development and contrast, but it's also giving you business networks. So you are face-to-face seeing these people and connecting with them and looking for opportunities, either for your business or for the business you work in. Right, can we just move on to the next one, please? So the MBA journey is 20 months of courses, and then you do some research. Most people finish between that 24 to 26 months, but you can take up to 30 months. But when life events happen, you can stop the clock and you can defer. And so you need to talk to us when those things happen, and we can work with you about how we get you back on board or give you the support you need while you're away. The cohort size is 20 to 30 in each of those classes, the Albany or the Auckland Airport one. You can see that we're getting up near the 50% of women, and every year it's increasing, and that's just amazing. Diversity is really important for us. The average age 41.5, work experience 19.5, management experience 9 years. And then, as I mentioned, diversity of background, experiences and occupations make for the brilliant conversations that you have at lunchtime and at morning tea time and things like that when you're talking about how you're going to solve a problem or when you're looking at some theory. The other really cool thing about this is that after graduation, we've just, for our EMBA accreditation, we've just been doing some work with our graduating classes, and we looked back 3 years, and after 3 years, 98% of the class had an improved role. And even after the first year, it's 70%. And one of the really interesting facts is that between 31 and 35% are still with their current employer. So that means that their employer is actually valuing the learning that they got during the journey. And that's really important for people to know. A lot of them do move on, but it is also valued within current employers as well. They can see the value in it. So let's move on to costs. So the cost is here. You pay, you can pay course by course. Most people use the student loan system, StudyLink, to pay for their tuition. And so they put all of the 8 courses on for the first year at one go. And then if you need to withdraw or to defer for any reason, we can help you with that. In the tuition and the non-tuition fees plus the study tour are all eligible for StudyLink. So you can put that on your student loan. There is a little bit of extra money that we've got in there, and that's for travel. For example, when we go down to Whanganui and partners, you need to be able to get to Palmerston North or to Whanganui to do that. And sometimes some of the electives are away from Auckland. They can be in, so currently they're in Tauranga and in Wellington, and then there's one in Auckland as well. So you can stay near Auckland if you like. You do need to know that the textbooks and the study materials and catering on the day are all included in that cost. So we don't want you distracted with anything else. So we're going to feed you very nicely. One of the big problems of our executive MBA is people put on weight. So, you know, keep that exercise up while you're studying, because we feed you really nicely while you're with us. I would suggest that you look for scholarships. At the moment, there are 4 scholarships available that I have just posted on Facebook. One finishes, I think, the 7th of September and the rest are the 1st of October. One of those ones is the NZIMF scholarship, which is 2 $15,000 scholarships. And in the last 4 years, 7 of those scholarships have gone to executive MBA students. So what we are teaching and the leadership development that they're looking for are encapsulated in our program. So we do recommend people that go out for those scholarships, but there are a number of others. And I'd also recommend that you talk to Citizens Advice, because sometimes they will have information on localised money that is available. And also to Māori and Pacifica students, recommend that you talk to your iwi or church groups, because they sometimes also have education funding. Every $1,000 counts, so go and look there. Now the great thing that's going to happen next is I'm going to ask Garth to talk to us. As I said to you, I may have said that Garth, I was so pleased. He stepped in at the last minute. The speaker that I had unfortunately couldn't make it at the last minute, so Garth has very kindly stepped in. He was on the Indian study tour. His picture was front and centre there. So Garth, I'd like to hand over to you. If you can talk about the value of the MBA, somebody who's invested in himself. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mandy. Yeah, so hi everybody, I'm Garth Landers. I'm a senior legal counsel at Mercury, New Zealand. And during the course of the MBA, I also became a director and board member on some of Mercury's joint ventures, which was a massive kind of thumbs up to doing the MBA and actually putting, as my CEO called it, putting the boot in for my own career. I have to also point out that the catering at Massey is spectacular. I have lost 12 kgs after ending the MBA, so I can tell you that that definitely came from somewhere. So I think what I'll do while I talk to you guys is to talk about the three things. The first is, why did I choose an MBA? Why did I choose Massey? And then kind of the benefits and some of the memories from being at Massey. So, I mean, so as you figured out, I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for over 15 years, and I've worked in South Africa, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand in big law firms, and now in-house. What had happened was, after a couple of years, a couple of years ago, so maybe 2016, I'd realized that I was climbing the corporate ladder, but I was becoming increasingly concerned that my ladder might have been up the wrong wall. So I decided that the best thing for me to do at that point was to actually revisit the skills I have and to see where I had skills gaps. And having identified a few, I thought the best place to start would be to go to do an executive MBA. I mean, if you are lawyers, many of you will know that lawyers see the world in a very particular way that's kind of focused more on risks and less on opportunities. And the other thing I wanted to do was broaden up my skill set. So one thing I did notice was that and then this was being quite honest, historically I've suffered from imposter syndrome, and figured that the best way for me to go forward would be to just fill in some perceived skills gaps. So I looked at various options in the market and looked at, a couple of universities here in Auckland, looked at online options, and I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really considering Massey very strongly in the beginning, mostly because of the fact that it was in Albany and I was centrally located. So, and having done that, a friend of mine suggested that I should just come along with her to the information evening. And when I got there, I was sold. There was no other university I was going to. It was pretty clear to me that Massey was definitely the right choice for me for a number of reasons. One of them being, I mean, I'll go through them, but the time frame, the 26 months, as opposed to doing, 3 years or even longer, just wasn't appealing with the full-time, very busy job. The weekend delivery meant that I didn't have to sacrifice leaving the office early, or, and it was just a matter of, I was always going to be able to make time for the MBA. The national cohort. So one thing that I did value was the fact that the cohort came from all over the country. So knowing that I could be, in a cohort with people from Christchurch or Wellington, etc., meant that my network was much broader than just Auckland. And I described it in my own notes before the session as the vibes of the staff and the Massey vibes. And actually, the way it's been described now is the supportive learning environment and the flexibility. And I have to say that that's very true. Massey has absolutely lived up to those promises. At one point, it looked like I might have to defer some part of my MBA, and Massey was really accommodating. In the end, it didn't happen, and I finished in the minimum time frame. But equally so, while we were on the international study tour, the study tour ended 2 weeks before my baby was due. My first child was due, and it became quite touch and go whether I'd even go on the study tour. In the end, I did go, and fortunately, my daughter is really punctual, so she came at the right time, which was excellent. So yeah, from those perspectives. And also the other thing was that Massey's applied learning scheme actually made it very appealing. I'm very academic. I can, if you give me a book, you tell me something to study, I can study it very well. I can write tests. But the thing that I needed was that applied learning. So not just to put everything into short-term memory and then disappear and write an exam and then forget all about it, but to actually have it kind of just drummed into me and kind of, made into, put into my essence somewhere that I could just pull it out as I needed it. Now, the benefits that I found of doing the Massey MBA and doing an MBA in general was an executive MBA was that I started to change. I can't tell you how I changed, when I started changing, but I can tell you that the Garth that started the MBA and the Garth that ended the MBA are two different people. First of all, 12 kgs lighter might be one start, but actually, I definitely feel more confident. I feel more optimistic. I definitely see the world in a different way. And also, when I'm at any table now, I'm prepared to share a view because it's valid. Whereas before, I always wondered whether I might have just, without that backing behind me, whether I was actually making much sense. The others were, you've heard about the group study, and I was quite concerned about that being a challenge. And one thing I have to say is that I quite enjoy challenges, and I do enjoy achieving personal growth. So the groups were a challenge in that I was quite concerned about how different personalities would work together and how do you all pull together in the same direction. And I have to say, even doing the MBA, that was the hardest part of it for me. But now I have so many more tools in my toolkit about how to collaborate better, or how to focus conversations, or how to get consensus, or sometimes just to influence, how to stop roadblocks and actually influence people to move ahead. The other thing is that people at your organization will notice that you're actually taking the time to improve yourself and your career. And that's an important thing, because people are not going to just give opportunities to people who are waiting for them to be handed out. I've come to notice that in the world, you have to be the person asking for them or actually shouting for them. And then from the memories, I loved the international study tour. It was excellent. I was thinking of maybe wanting to go on South America study tour, but because of the due date for my daughter, I had no choice. It was definitely India. And it was better than I expected. It was amazing. It was really busy, lots of information, learning so much about an amazing culture, and also about an amazing place to do business, and also how, as a human being, you need to flex, and how you also need to test your own paradigms about the way you look at the world, because while your paradigm might be right for you, it's not right for everyone, and it's quite good to have that opened up. As I said, the groups were testing, and I found that as a challenge, but I also have to acknowledge that if it wasn't for my groups, being in the MBA or getting through the MBA would have been a lot more difficult. So first of all, having a baby through the MBA, my group was so understanding, and for one of the assignments, just reduced my workload significantly so that I could focus on being a dad for the first 2 weeks of my daughter's life, and then coming in right at the end to assist with a few things to improve flow of the assignment, which was excellent. And the other piece was just recognizing that success doesn't have a particular book or roadmap. Everybody in the MBA has come about success in their own way. And it was really interesting to see that everybody had different points of view, and yet they were all valid, and they all pushed towards the same thing, and that everybody there was pursuing growth for themselves. I think the other thing to acknowledge just about the MBA, and possibly the groups that made it challenge, that actually proved right that it was going to be quite challenging, was the fact that everybody that's there is driven. They're there for a reason, and they're there to make themselves better. And watching that makes you more driven yourself, and actually makes you want to pursue the best for yourself as well. And that's my little spiel.
Great. Thank you so much, Garth. That was really interesting to hear. Unfortunately, Garth will have to leave soon. So if you've got any questions right now for Garth, this is a good time to ask them. Please use the chat box so we can, I can pick up your questions and have Garth answer them right now. Garth, I think one of the questions that came through was what a typical day would look like with workload, because you mentioned that you've got, you had a full-time job, and you have a family and a daughter. So how do you really look at a day in terms of trying to include study as well into that?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Actually, I'm very much an owl, so I tend to work better at night anyway. So I'd finish work and then spend a few extra hours after work to read the textbooks and trying to get up to speed and to do the assignments. But then I did find that for some assignments, particularly I found in finance, being an owl might not have been the best approach. So I actually was waking up earlier, going to bed earlier, and waking up earlier in the day to pick up some of that stuff and to actually kind of get the assignments done in advance. So yeah, it was just a matter of just being flexible with my times, and yeah, so it just required some planning and some flexibility.
Excellent, thank you. So it's okay. So there's a question that's come through about what class have you found most relevant to your growth as a professional?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. So I found that many of the courses in the first year, with the exception of leadership, were things that I had studied before. So I mean, I'd already had a Bachelor of Social Sciences and a law degree, and I'd done an advanced certificate in investment analysis before I'd done the MBA. So I was quite studied before then. And then doing the MBA itself, I found that the leadership and people paper was really important to kind of guiding me back towards thinking about myself and the role I play as a leader and how do I become more effective as a leader. And that was very important from the first year. The second year, I thought was a very different kettle of fish. I felt that almost everything was really on point in the second year, and it's really hard to kind of pull certain things out. So I found, Ted gave us advanced business research, and I feel really sorry for Ted for having taught that, but that was really useful to get us ready to do the thesis at the end. So that had really immediate practical application. I found the international study tour was excellent because it helped us understand how different markets work and how different cultures operate. Then there was innovation and leadership, and that was exciting mainly because of the speed of it and how quickly everything was done on the weekend, and to realize how resourceful you can be with very little time, and that was great. And then I purposefully chose all my electives to be the things I wouldn't typically go and do. So I chose design thinking, and I also chose advanced leadership. And I found just challenging myself to do the things I wouldn't typically do actually was the right choice in the end, because it helped me to be more playful in the way I solve problems, for example, through design thinking, and to be more in love with actually framing the right question as opposed to pursuing just the answer, but actually making sure I'm solving the right question in the first place. I found advanced leadership as well to be just life-changing, to be honest. When I did the EQI assessment, I think in the current version of the MBA, you'll do that more through your coaching, but doing the EQI assessments and realizing where there were certain aspects of my personality that were areas for growth for me, and actually getting a plan of how to develop those areas, that has actually been a life-changing experience.
Okay. One last question before we let you go, Garth, was burnout ever a concern?
Burnout, I think in anything we do, we always have to consider burnout. And I think burnout will be a concern in the beginning. I think as you go through it, it becomes less of a concern, because in the beginning it's all new and you just don't know what's coming at you, but we're very adaptable as human beings, and I found that all of us were quite quickly able to adapt to what it was that we signed up to. And in the end, it actually becomes a lot of fun. You look forward to being at class, you look forward to being with your peers, you look forward to the group studies, you look forward to solving the problems that are presented in the assignments, and suddenly it changes from just being something that you've got to do amazingly well at to something that is actually a lot of fun and quite rewarding. So yes, burnout's definitely a risk, but I think, it's about burnout. I've also read somewhere it's actually a lot about the way you are confronting the problem and seeing it as stressful. I think it's quite easy once you get into it to realize that actually it's a lot of fun. But that being said, I mean, always be mindful of your own health and well-being, because, one of the first during the orientation, we were warned about that, and we were told about the order of priority, or recommended an order of priority, that it's family first, then your job, then the MBA third or last, and you've got to think of it in that way. So, we've only got so much energy we can give to every day.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Garth. So we're just going to move on. I'm just going to ask Heidi to talk to us about the MBA programs, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so the question, is an MBA right for you? So earlier I mentioned the different target groups for the two programs, for the suite of programs we have. The MBA is more so for those that are emerging managers, or they are in junior and mid-level positions. Can also be for those that are running their own business, because the program offers a lot of flexibility to you. So when you run your own business, you may want to consider rather the MBA online option, because then you can learn anytime when it suits you. So if you're somebody who looks for flexibility in your studies, the MBA, specifically the MBA online, is certainly a very good option for you. On the MBA program, you will learn from our teaching staff, and you will meet two of them also shortly. And the focus is really to apply theory to practice. So the academics all have practitioner experience, and they bring this into the classroom. In addition to this, we have guest speakers that also bring the practical lens into the classroom, as well as the use of case studies. And the nice thing about doing an MBA in a part-time way is that you are able to apply your learning straight away. So you learn and apply as you go through the program. So it certainly is a very applied program, and it focuses on the essential business skills. We call it the leading edge business skills. So let's look at the next slide, between an online option and a full-time option. The online option uses the learning design from Wiley. We've partnered with Wiley Educational Services to design our program. It is a very appealing and very engaging program. It's available 24/7 to you, and you go through it in a self-paced format. And Joy, who is one of our students joining us here tonight, she will be able to tell you a bit more of what it's like to study the MBA online. What we have done is that we provide very engaging material to you. So it's not just recorded lectures, but guest speakers that will join you through videos. And you will have once a week an online class that you can join, where you have contact directly with the lecturer teaching the class, and also with the peers that you will be studying. So the peer engagement on the online program happens through study groups, where you will be working on various assignments throughout your program. In contrast to the online program, the full-time program is taught at the Auckland campus, and classes are on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So 4 hours per day on these 3 days, where you will be in the classroom engaging with your fellow classmates and with the lecturer face to face. Okay, I think that was mostly what I wanted to say. With regards to the online MBA, we've included some pictures here to show you the technology that we are using. You see here a light board that is used by one of our lecturers. This is Dr. Jeff Stengel. He's explaining a finance concept. And this is a really nice way for you to learn the material, by watching a lecturer who is explaining it using such an interesting technology. In addition to this, you will also have guest speakers. Here we've got Mr. Don Braid. He's a group managing director at Mainfreight. So you really have that practical exposure on your program, also while it is online. The next slide talks to some of the key competencies that you will gain while you are studying your MBA program. And those competencies are underpinned by the courses that we provide you with. In one of the next slides, I will go also, like Mandy did, through part 1 and part 2. But all the courses together, they will help you to achieve those learning outcomes that speak to the MBA. And as a strategic thinker, you will be able to apply theory to complex business problems in order to make strategic decisions. You will be able to lead with integrity and to lead that change effectively with the people around you. Problem analysis and problem solving, this will also include that you will be able to articulate a problem and solve it appropriately to the context in which the problem exists. Technology savviness. That's something that we all need in this time, this fast changing time technologically. And this program will definitely get you familiarized with evolving applications of technology in business and management. And in fact, we are using the technology as we are teaching you on the program. Cultural competence, the last point here on the slide. I think this is a very essential and key skills for any manager and leader to have when you want to interact with those that have a different background to you, a different cultural background or ethnicity. So the program overall is really designed to enhance your career and to benefit your employer and yourself in this constantly changing environment. The MBA, here you can see, is also divided into part 1 and part 2. But before I talk about part 1 and part 2, I'd like to mention that the MBA, both full-time and online, generally speaking, starts 3 times a year. We have an intake in March, July, and November. So November is just around the corner. So if you're keen to start with us in November, then this is a good time for you to send in your application. So the first part of the MBA program is characterized by core courses, core business function courses, such as leadership and teamwork, finance, managing people and organizations, marketing, and you will see more of this also on our website. And those core courses will prepare you also for part 2. And they give you an insight into some of the functional skills, which will also help you to choose your specialization. So on the MBA program, we've got 3 specializations to choose from, but I must point out that the digital transformation specialization is the only one that is available on the online platform. The other 2 options, international marketing and business sustainability, are available in the full-time MBA option, which is delivered here in Auckland at the Albany campus. And the flexibility that we provide you is on the MBA program is also that you can choose. You can switch between an online and an on-campus course. If you do want to consider this as an option, then you must speak to us, speak to our team, and we are able to put together an individualized study plan. In part 2 of the MBA program, which are the remaining 60 credits on this degree, is divided into 2 courses. Here we've got strategic complexities in international business. That's what the course is called in the online MBA, and then strategic business in the global market. That's what it's called on the full-time MBA. In essence, it's a global strategy course, but it's got slight adaptations and nuances, and it does include a lot of exposure to companies. The students that are on our full-time MBA program, they go and visit companies in the Auckland area or nearby and engage with those organizations. The students that are on the online MBA program, they will also engage with companies, but in a slightly different way. They will have subgroups that are partly self-organized in order to visit those organizations. After the global strategy course, you will go into your action learning project. That is a facilitated workplace experience where you apply all your skills that you have learned on the program. You will have heard earlier Garth talking about a research paper that is done on the EMBA. On the MBA, it's slightly different. It's very applied. So it's not a research project, but it will give you the opportunity to engage with an organization on a very practical level. Typically, we give students, or the organization gives students a complex problem to solve that results in a report with recommendations. Part 1 and Part 2 together will bring you to a 180 credit MBA program. Similar to the EMBA, you also do need to have a GPA of B- in Part 1 in order to progress to Part 2. And so far so good. Our students are well supported to achieve that GPA that we are looking for. Okay, so how long does it take to complete the program? You can do the online MBA program in a part-time fashion. So you are working while you are studying. And this, I said it early on, typically takes 2 years, or the program that we have designed with the flow of the courses flows over 2 years. But we do have some of our online MBA students who are working not in a full-time role, but they're working in a part-time role, and they are able to take sometimes extra courses, and we allow for this to happen. So you would need to motivate for it, but in such a situation, you would then be able to do 2 courses at the same time on the online MBA instead of just 1 course. Typically, 1 course comes after the next, and each course takes 7 weeks, plus some time for assessments that are due for a particular course. You will also see here in the brackets that you can take up to 5 years for your MBA program, for the online MBA program, and that is also to allow for some flexibility, and should life happen in different formats and ways, that you are able to pause and then continue at a later stage. The full-time MBA program is over 1 year. As I said earlier, it's here on the Auckland campus, and it attracts quite a number of international students. So who will be in the cohort? In those MBA students that have started with us since last year, we have typically had 20 to 35 students in a cohort, in a class, which is really great for engaging with everyone. It's not too big, but it gives you a good size of a student body that brings in that diversity and the different backgrounds that everybody brings into the classroom and into the discussions. We also have a very good divide between male and female, as you can see here. And what is interesting is that the average age for our MBA students is 37, which speaks to the fact that the students bring in a wealth of work experience into the classroom with an average of 11 years. It's, as one would expect, quite a lot lower than the EMBA program. But I think it's important for you to take note of this, because we do learn from our peers, especially when you work on group assignments. The peer learning is invaluable, and you build friendships and connections that last for a lifetime often, and much more longer than the actual program itself. There's a diversity of backgrounds amongst our students. We have students from all sorts of industry, also from not-for-profit organizations, government organizations, corporate, different ranges, and that also adds to the richness in the classroom discussions as well in the group work. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Yeah, your investment into your education. You can see here the amounts that the degrees are offered at. There's a fee for each of the courses, and you are able to, when you're on the online MBA program, to pay as you go through your MBA program, so you don't have to pay the full tuition fee up front. The international fee is slightly different to the local fee, and it's also important to note that all your study material, all your textbooks, ebooks, and so on, it's all included in your tuition fees. So next we have a student who has made that investment in her education, and I welcome Joy Oliver Thompson with us here tonight. And she has started her MBA journey in March, right, Joy, in the MBA program. And yeah, we would really like you to share a bit more of your experience that you had so far, and yeah, the essential points that you like to give to anyone who is interested in doing it.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for having me, listening to me. I've typed this out on my screen because I'm a little bit nervous speaking in front of all you new people. My name is Joy and I'm here to share my Massey MBA experiences with you. This is my first year doing the MBA program. I am a mother of 5 children, and 2 of them are adulting now and 3 are living at home, and so that's really cool. Whilst I have been at home with my family, I have put this time to good use and have spent the past few years studying. I have been somewhat strategic with my thinking and have used this home time to study extramurally. I thought I may as well use my brains while I'm just mummying. I completed a Bachelor of Communications and went on to complete a graduate diploma in marketing. Last year, when I was coming to the end of my previous studies, I thought, what's next? What can I do? I then searched up Massey's postgraduate study and attended a couple of postgraduate study open events back before we had this whole thing called lockdown and COVID. In the end, I chose the MBA because it offered a broad range of business papers, and at the time, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to specialise in. One thing I did know is that I enjoyed the world of business studies, but I didn't want just more of the same, which is quite ironic and maybe quite apt because, as it turns out, one of Massey's postgraduate taglines is not just more of the same. When I began semester 1 of the MBA, I was introduced into the world of Zoom, team meetings, and many an online meeting, as well as a lot of teamwork. I had never experienced this whole world before because my previous studies were all at home, done alone, and no real human interaction with other students or lecturers. This MBA was definitely not more of the same. I had spent many years studying at home and I felt this all quite isolating and lonely. Then I was plunged into this new MBA world and it has been a great learning curve so far. My MBA study began with the Leadership and Teamwork paper by Suze Wilson, and I think she's going to be talking soon after me. This was a fantastic paper to begin with. I was put with a group of 4 other somewhat like-minded yet diverse people. We all came from different backgrounds and had different reasons for doing the MBA. But having that small group of people I could turn to and ask for support or help, that was really good. As I move through each paper, I'm still in contact with my original small group, and we often catch up for online chats or message each other. Over the years, it has felt like I'm the only person in the world studying, or being up half the night completing readings and doing assignments. But this isn't the case. In my cohort, I'm one of approximately 16 people who are doing this MBA together. Every week, we have a large group online lecture. Some papers have more of a collaborative discussion-focused evening chat, and some are more lecture style. I wouldn't say that this MBA is hard or easy. It is just different from undergraduate study. And for me, this is what I wanted. As I progress through the MBA papers, I am learning more and more every day about business functions. I definitely know which field I would like to work in one day, and that is law firm management or marketing and communications for New Zealand cricket. With the MBA, we only do one paper every 7 or 8 weeks. And I like this because we are focusing on just one subject, not 2 or 3 all at once. Next week, I'm coming to the end of my Managing Financial Resources paper, and you would have seen a picture of Dr. Jeff Stangl. He is amazing. He was the guy with the light box, and he just illustrates finance just very well. And next week I'm moving into managing people and organisations, and I'm looking forward to this next paper. My husband tells me, in the words of Steve Hansen, trust the process. So here I am, not doing more of the same.
Great. That was really nice. Thank you so much, Joy. Appreciate you sharing your story. This is a good time to ask any of your questions for Joy, and she's doing the online MBA. Please use the chat box to ask any of your questions right now. So Joy, what was the workload like with the online MBA?
So with my first two papers, which was leadership and teamwork and marketing, we had one 2-hour lecture a week, and that is with the whole cohort. And then we also had probably 2, 3 or 4 team meetings with our little team of 4 or 5 people. But that was really informal, you know, we're just sitting around talking, obviously about work, about study. But yeah, that was good. And then I think you can read as much as you want to read. And you could spend literally all night reading if you wanted. But typically, as long as you do about 3 hours a day, so maybe 12 to 15 hours a week. So yeah, I try and do 2 hours, at least 2 hours a night, and then I try and do some in the morning. So I work part-time. I have heaps of part-time jobs. I work for a boarding school, and so I look after the girls at the boarding school. I also work for Manawatu Cricket Association, and I do all their marketing and communications. And I hope to one day move up the ladder to Central Districts Cricket or New Zealand Cricket. Yeah, so, and I also do a lot of marketing communications for not-for-profit organisations. So that's my whole, my whole world, as it were. And so this MBA study is really good because besides the 7 p.m. lectures, usually on a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday evening, the rest of it I can fit around all of my day jobs, as it were, or I can fit my day jobs around my study. And so yeah, it's good. And it works in with my family as well.
Great. We've just got another question that's come through. What is the biggest drawback of the online-based program that you've found so far?
I have never been to university in a building face-to-face, so I don't know, I can't compare that. And I went to school, I think I left school like over 25 years ago, so that's a long time ago. I have only ever studied online. And I really enjoy this MBA program in that I get to talk to people face-to-face through Zoom every day, through my small group meetings, through the larger weekly cohort meetings, and I don't think of that as like a negative thing. I don't find that hard. I mean, it would be nice to be able to have more face-to-face human interaction, but most of us are spread out from, Kaitaia down to, well, not quite Stewart Island, but, we're spread out. And so I like the onlineness about it.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Joy. We're just going to move on to the next segment. Joy is going to be with us for the whole session, so we can ask her questions at the end as well. For now, I'm going to pass it on to Jeff to talk about the teaching expectations.
Great, thank you very much, Dita, and thanks, Joy. I look forward to meeting you in, what, about 10 days' time, I think. I'm conscious we're a little bit behind time, so I'm going to shorten my comments a bit, but I will stay on to the end, so if there are any questions coming up, I'm quite happy to answer them then. Very briefly, I'm a psychologist, and before coming into the university sector, I worked in the Navy as an applied psychologist on human resource management issues, and also as a consultant for Ernst & Young, both in Wellington and in Christchurch, before I then joined the university sector, first in Lincoln, and then I spent 11 years in Singapore working internationally, teaching MBA and also running executive education programs. I mention that because I've looked at both sides. I've looked at the private sector and the university sector, and I'm really convinced that universities do have the capacity to provide up-to-date, relevant and practical insights for managers, both to help with their current jobs, but also to help them achieve their future career aspirations. So on the Executive MBA course, I teach the Strategic Management International Leadership course with a co-lecturer and also look after the study tour. And this really tries to challenge people to think about what it means to be a global manager and to reflect on how they can contribute to New Zealand's growth, their firm's success, by adopting a global mindset. So if you're thinking globally, it really opens up possibilities for strategies beyond those available in a domestic market. And it also pushes students to tackle some of those more complex business issues. And some of those issues are becoming very apparent now as our international connections are being disrupted by COVID. The course is taught in conjunction with the International Study Tour, so there's a great opportunity to engage with many different firms and business leaders overseas. On the MBA, I teach the Managing People and Organisations course. So the focus is very much more on developing new ways of thinking about people issues and skills for managing. Even the assessments on the course are designed to be practical. They give you an opportunity to analyse situations from your own work experience and to apply ideas from the course. I actually find it hugely rewarding. I have students that will do an assessment which, you know, people normally think is not a fun thing to do, and they'll come up talking about how they've got new insights into how perhaps they could have handled that situation in a different way, and they've got a lot more confidence going forward if they meet similar kinds of situations in the future. And I think as you move through the MBA, as with the EMBA, you'll come out of every class with new ideas which you can start applying to your work as managers. I'll cut it short there. As I say, I'm happy to stay back at the end of the session, answer any questions you have that relate particularly to the teaching process. But thanks very much for coming along tonight, and I look forward to meeting some of you in a future class. I'll now hand back to Jita, who I think will pass over to Suze Wilson, our other faculty member.
Okay, kumaria everyone. I am Suze Wilson, as Jeff has just said. So I teach in both the EMBA and MBA programs. I have come to academia though with a fairly long history in business, working primarily in the fields of HR management and industrial relations, and having held executive level roles in some large organisations such as New Zealand Post, and the State Services Commission, and I've also got an extensive management consulting and executive coaching background. So the courses that I teach are very much influenced by my practical experience, and I'm always looking to introduce students to ideas that I know from my own workplace experience are ones that can help make us more effective. My courses are focused around people-related issues such as leadership. So my research area specialty is leadership, teamwork, issues of motivation, understanding organisational politics, organisational culture, all those kinds of people-related issues. And students are routinely asked to engage directly in applying those ideas into their own experience. We get students working on teams, in teams, using teamwork theory to interrogate and improve their practice. Students do case studies of their own organisations, and they do analysis of their own behaviours and approach to leadership and teamwork with a view to understanding how they can get better. So the courses are quite personal in their orientation. It is very much about you, not some abstract theoretical approach, and bringing these ideas into your own context. In the MBA, the course is called Leadership and Teamwork, and we do a rapid but deep dive into teamwork theory to understand really that actually it's not just about whether or not you like the person that you're working with. There's some actually a range of issues to grapple with to make teams work effectively. And then we look at a range of issues to do with leadership. In the EMBA, there's a first year course that I teach called Leadership and People. And that obviously looks at both leadership and teamwork, but also a broader set of issues to do with things such as motivation, organisational politics, and so forth. And then in the second part, in year 2 of the EMBA, there's an applied leadership program course that I teach with my colleague, Dr. Bossons, and we look at both strategic leadership, but also more again about your personal journey, and we match you up with an executive coach to really dive deep into what is your personal development plan for yourself as a leader as you come out towards the end of your EMBA. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a feel for what we're doing in these courses, and I'll hand back to Dita, and I'll also be here at the end for any questions.
Great, thank you so much for that, Suze. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dita Shishta, your main point of contact for the MBA program. As you all must have heard, our programs are quite intense and really requires you to focus your time outside of family and work completely on your studies. So we here understand exactly that, and we've got a lot of services, support services in place for you as an EMBA student and as an MBA student as well. So they're useful to you as an EMBA and an MBA student. I am conscious that we are running a little behind, so I'm just going to quickly take you through just a few of these services that I think deserve a special mention. One of these services is actually the pre-reading services that the Center of Teaching and Learning has to offer. And this is really particularly interesting and an important support service because it really helps you get direct feedback for any piece of work, any piece of assessment that you're just ready to click on submit for. You can talk to a writing consultant and get that direct feedback on that work. Another really interesting support service that we have is the online writing and learning link, OWL for short. And this has got a plethora of information on academic writing, academic reading. Really, it prepares you for those assessments that you're going to submit, and it prepares you for all the reading that you need to do as part of the course. And I think there was also a question about burnouts, and we recognize that that could be a serious issue as well. So we like to ensure that you are focused on your well-being and that we help you do that as well. We've got a service that's called Peaky that gives you 24 hours personalized access to therapy and to kind of just help you strengthen your well-being. We've got Monday mindful sessions that help you really handle that stress and to kind of keep it under control. And these really help you strengthen your well-being. And of course, we've got IT support because we understand that all of your study is going to be online. And in addition to all of this, we are here for you. So personalized care. May I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So we take care of you all the way from orientation until graduation. We like to go on this journey to success along with you. So we talk to you about the support that we have. We give you a personalized learning journey that helps you build on those reflective skills, which we believe helps you with ongoing learning. And we've got everything sitting on a online learning platform. So you've got access to all of the support services that we have to offer. You've got access to information on the programs and what you need to know to be able to succeed with the EMBA and the MBA program. Of course, we've got a career accelerator program where the careers team and our MED team work together to understand what skills you need to increase your employability. These are skills that are relevant in the market. And then we come to you with how to strengthen your CV, how to strengthen your LinkedIn profile, how to succeed in an interview. And there's so much more that we get webinars for you. And of course, it's not all work and no play here at MED. We have social events where we get all of our EMBA and our MBA students together to really build on those relationships and to build on those networks. So it's really a lot of support, and we really enjoy going on this journey with you. So that's all from me. That's a really quick discussion on the support services. I'm just going to hand it back to Mandy for a quick recap. Thank you.
Hi there. So you've learned a lot, and really you're quite capable of reading the material here. So I'm just going to briefly say the EMBA focuses on strategic leadership and the MBA focuses on leading edge practice. And so it helps people, if you could try and decide between the two, I would highly recommend, at the very end, there'll be a link and we'll pop that up on the chat as well for Calendly, which is you can have an appointment with myself if you'd like to talk about either program. And if you'd like to particularly talk about the online MBA, you can book a time where Ditha or myself will call you back and we can discuss it. But both programs will suit you for a variety of different reasons. So I'm not going to go into those details again. I'm going to hand back to Ditha because I know that the questions that you're going to ask are the most important ones. So Ditha, if you'd like to carry on with how you enroll and the admission process, that would be grand.
Great, thank you so much, Mandy. So you've heard about all of these programs that we are so proud of here at the MED team. And I'm just gonna quickly take you through the important points about how you can enroll. For the EMBA, the best way to start your enrollment process would be to send an email to mba@massey.ac.nz. Mandy Welsh will handle you and support you through the whole application process. It is handy to, for the EMBA, it's handy to have an application form and statement and 2 business referees that's ready for with you when you're looking at your application. The EMBA also has an interview process as part of its application. Once you're through all of this, and of course Mandy will be there to support you through all this, we then have the application form from the university that you would need to fill in, which is the application process. For the MBA, on our website, massey.ac.nz/study-MBA, there's a big enroll now button, so please go and click on that and apply for our MBA. Documents that are good to have handy and that we need as part of the application are your latest CV, university transcripts, and an application video or statement. We recommend a video because it really helps us understand you and what you are looking for. There are questions that we send out with our information emails about the specific questions that we would like you to answer as part of this application video. Okay, so I'm just going to move on and move to the chats so we can answer some of the questions that you've been putting through. So one of the questions, and I think Heidi, you might be able to help us with this one, was from Courtney, and she asked about do we need to take just the one course at a time, or can we take a heavier workload with 45 to 60 credits? And this is for the online MBA.
Yes, that's a good. Yeah.
Sorry, just before you say, just before you answer that, I just wanted to clarify that she also, in the question, she also mentioned about the 2 hours per week and the 16 hours per week. And I just wanted to clarify that the 2 hours per week for the online MBA is with the Zoom sessions. That's not the complete study the study time for the week. And the 16 hours is for the classroom sessions for the full-time MBA. Thank you. Over to you, Heidi.
Yes, thanks, Disa. Yes, it's quite right. We do say, similar to what Joy had said, that the total study time that you would spend in a week is between 15 to 20 hours. And on the full-time mode, you will spend 12 of those in the classroom. And then, well, actually on the full-time mode, you spend more learning time. But if you study part-time on the MBA online, you will spend 15 to 20 hours. And 2 of those hours are then in that synchronous online session where you have direct contact with your lecturer. If you study full-time on the MBA, it's actually a full-time workload, a 40-hour work week, so to speak, and 12 hours are then in the classroom. With regards to the number of papers or number of courses that you can do on the online MBA, yes, we are able to provide you with 2 courses that you can do at the same time instead of the typical schedule where you would do 1 course at a time. Joy spoke about that earlier, where you do 1 course and then you finish it and then you go into the next one. But if you have time, if you are not working full-time, we are able to provide you with a 2nd course. We will, however, look into your personal circumstances a little bit in order to assess the situation, because we really want you to be able to be successful by taking on this extra workload. So taking 2 online courses at the same time is a lot. It will be demanding, and you will also have different study groups. So we will talk this through with you in order to see what is really the best for you. But if you are able to take 2 courses at a time, and even only you can also do this for a part of your online MBA, then you are able to go through the program a bit faster. And that means that you could potentially do your MBA in an online format in 15 months. That would be the fastest. And then another option maybe would be for 18 months. So this is available to you, but we don't make a general statement because we want to see what you bring to the situation, what your personal circumstances are.
Great, thank you so much, Heidi. Mandy, we had a question about the fees for the EMBA. The 43.5K that you had mentioned, was that for the whole program or was that on a year? For the year?
No, that's the whole program. So you would split that, it's half and half really. And then on the 2nd year, you've also got that $8,700 for the study tour, which goes on top of that for that 2nd year. So no, we don't ask for it up front.
Great, thank you so much. There was a question also about the online Zoom sessions and if we need to be online at a specific time and if these are available in a video format, and I think I can help answer that. There are Zoom sessions that we schedule for every course. These are from 2 to 3 hours per week, varies from course to course. And we do encourage our students to attend these Zoom sessions. However, they are recorded and you can watch them at your own pace and at a later time as well. Joy, one of the questions that came in for you was what typical work did you do with your teams? So in the team meetings, what did that look like?
So in the marketing paper, we had to develop a service design strategy. So we took one business or one organization. And so in my team of 4, I think it was 4 of it, 4 plus me, we each had a piece that we did to develop the strategy for, so it's a marketing paper for our organization. And so we divided it however we wanted. So 2 people, they focused on doing the animation I know it seems a bit funny, but they designed an animation, and me and my partner, we did a slideshow, and but we all had a look at each other's or the two groups, each other's work, to ensure that they were together and you know, synchronized, as it were. And in the leadership and teamwork paper, we had to look at readings, and we had to take pieces out of the readings and sort of discuss it, and then formulate an assignment from that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to, I know we've got a few more questions, but I will send them over to Mandy, and we can answer these questions directly, send an email directly to you with the answers. For now, I'm just going to hand it back to Ted to close for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Ditha. So I hope that all of you feel a bit more informed about the MBA and EMBA, and have a better sense of whether they're the right next step for you. And of course, we hope you decide that they are, as has been mentioned, we're very proud of our MBA and EMBA programs. And we know the value that they have had for many students in the past. I think it's probably been mentioned that we have the longest continuously running MBA program in New Zealand, and that's something that we're very proud of. Garth talked about that one of the things that appealed to him as a student making the decision was our applied learning. And that's something that's very important to us. It's that we talk about our two core values that characterize all of our programs, both the MBA and the EMBA, is that they're closely connected to practice and provide a personalized experience. And that closely connected to practice is really what Garth is talking about there, because that comes in the choice of lecturers like Suze and Jeff, who have, as you can see, tremendous experience outside of academia, as well as being very fine scholars and teachers as well. And it also comes in bringing in guest lecturers from industry and many other ways. So Heidi showed you the slide of Don Braid, the CEO of Mainfreight, who's a sort of a superstar of business in New Zealand. And we make a point to bring in New Zealand business leaders and subject experts from industry and many and almost all of our courses. So just in the past few months, we've had quite an amazing lineup. We've had Antonia Watson, who's the CEO of ANZ Bank. We've had Christopher Luxon, who's the former CEO of Air New Zealand. And every year we have Ross Buckley, who's the CEO of KPMG, because Ross is the chair of our advisory board. So, you know, in those and the content and of the courses, we try to make sure that we often talk about teaching in a way that you have things that you can apply on Monday morning when you go back to work, if you are still working full time. So I'll close with a quote from Norman Mailer, the American writer, who said, "Every moment of one's existence, one is growing into more or retreating into less." And that's a quote that I really like and have used often. You're either growing into more or retreating into less. So I hope you will make the choice to keep growing into more. And of course, we would love to work with you in doing just that if you decide on the EMBA or the MBA from Massey. Noho ora mai, good night. And as I will turn it over to Ditha just to close up with any last minute details.
Thank you so much, Ted. Just to let you all know, we are going to be here for about 5 minutes. And just to see if there's some questions that were left, and we can probably answer them now. But for those of you who need to leave, we can follow this up with an email as well. Thank you, everyone.